Hello and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video by me, FoxyNoTail, here on the truly Bedrock survival realm. And I am here. Realm? We haven't been a realm in ages. Server. I am here over at our fish farm. And I say our, mine and Slack's fish farm. We built this and in the 1.16 update it broke. Ow. It used to be fully full of magma blocks. Jeez, let me get back up, please. Let me up, please. Can I go back up? Yes, the floor used to be completely magma blocks. But because in 1.16, the update broke it so that fish, squid, dolphins, and things like that would no longer spawn on the magma blocks, we had to then do this crisscross pattern, which you can see still kind of works. But the rates on this have been ridiculously slow since we added those in. With the update 1.16.2, they fixed it again so things will spawn in bubble columns so we can get rid of the blocks in between and just go back to having magma cubes. But that's not quite as easy as it sounds because this has lots and lots of rail underneath it. The last time I did this, when I converted it to having the solid blocks in between, all of the rail got washed away and I had to place it all again and it was a nightmare. So this time, what I'm thinking, instead of doing that, is I'm just going to layer a layer of blocks on that bottom water layer, replace the magma blocks from underneath, and then get rid of that layer again, and hopefully it'll all turn into water sources and we'll all be good to go. And we now have a completely random range of temporary blocks in place. We can actually get underneath this thing and start adding in the magma blocks. Although I guess I kind of need to destroy it all first in order to put it all back in again, and a lot of this is going to end up in these hopper minecarts. I could really do to stop these hopper minecarts, otherwise they're just going to be transporting loads of junk around, aren't they? Right, where is it? It's up there. Can we break it? There we go. We got that one. Come on, other one. We don't want loads of junk going into our system, thank you. And now that it's all out, all I need to do is put it back in again. How hard could this be? And with these last few blocks, that is everything back in again. Amazing. Right, now we can put the hopper minecarts back in. Like so. Give that one a shove there and give that one a shove there. And now all we need to do is get rid of the temporary blocks again. Oh, jeez. Yeah, get rid of all those temporary blocks again. Hopefully without smashing the magma blocks to bits, because the magma blocks are very soft and easy to smash. So I want to actually empty my inventory first, get rid of all of this junk, and then smash it all to bits. The problem with this part is the fact that I need to crouch. I'm not actually going too slowly, but I need to crouch, otherwise I'm going to burn my feet. Now, the problem with crouching is I'm also going to drown because I'm under the water. If I stood on the side and did it like this, there's a high probability that I'm just going to smash straight through those magma blocks and end up breaking the system underneath, which I really don't want to do, because then I have to clear the whole lot out and rebuild the entire thing, which I really want to try and avoid. The good news is though, because they're not actually water sources underneath here yet, I can still swim up and catch my breath again. If they had turned into water sources, the magma cubes would be pulling me back down and I wouldn't actually be able to get back up again. So it might be worth me getting some emergency slabs in my inventory just in case we end up developing some water sources down here and I start getting stuck. Well, the inevitable has happened. I went into swim mode because the game decided I should, even though I was crouching, and I've smashed through the floor, which means all of my rail is broken and I've got to rebuild the entire thing, and now there's dolphins in here. Great. Thank you very much, game. It's exactly what I wanted to happen. Oh, jeez. And after fixing it all once already, I am now down here for a second time because yet again, the game decided I needed to swim and sprint under the water rather than crouch like I was doing. This is not fun. This is not fun, game. Why do you do this to me? Slabs at the ready with all of the magma cubes back in and all of the temporary blocks removed. All I need to now do is encourage the water sources to reform by placing water sources down at the bottom. And there we go. Was that it? Did that do the whole thing? Yeah, look, it's spreading across the whole farm. All I had to do was place one bucket. Amazing. But the problem is now I am stuck in here, which is why I've got my slabs. So I'll be able to sneak out of there. But yes, this is very, very good news. We should hopefully start seeing things actually spawning in here now. Now we are getting a reasonable number of squid and fish spawning in here. There is only myself, Mr. Beardstone, and both of our camera accounts online. Chuck's in the nether, And depending on where Mr. Beardstone or Dr. Beardstone are, that will depend on what we get spawning here. If they're anywhere in there in ocean, loading in ocean mobs, this thing's going to go slowly. And it looks from the fact that we're not getting very many fish spawning at all, that they probably are. So maybe it's not the best time to be AFK here right now. So while I can't AFK at the fish farm, another farm that needs a little bit of care and attention is our gold farm. Now this thing works great. The problem is that occasionally the zombie pigmen do manage to find their way outside of this thing. And that is probably due to the fact that my Trident killer design is I don't want to say too compact, but it is very compact. And yeah, there's quite a few potential places that the zombie pigmen could escape from, the corners and stuff like that, I guess. Now, there's two things we could do here. We could completely bolster up this design and just add loads more blocks around it to try them stop glitching through the edges. Or we could go into a creative test world and look at what other designs we could come up with for a quad chunk Trident killer that might be a little bit more reliable, but not necessarily taking up any more space. Back on my creative test world, these quad Trident killers are what evolved into what we've now got on the server, and you can see from this one, it doesn't work too badly, but for some reason when it's on the server and we activate the portals, the pistons go all kind of weird, and I think it's to do with the observers that are running them. So I'm going to try and come up with a design that doesn't use any observers at all and won't allow the pigmen to glitch out either. That's the plan. Well, this is going to be tricky. So this is the template for the design we used before, which is relatively small and compact. The problem being, though, that each one of these pillars has to control 4 different pistons, which is not always ideal to get your clock timings right. So bringing everything out a block more means we do have more room in the middle where we don't have the pistons together, which makes us slightly further away from the XP and the Tridents. But it's not actually too much of a bigger area, which means we can get each individual Trident killer to have its own individual clock. And something like this might just do the trick. It's nice and compact. It's easy enough to get your hoppers and stuff underneath as well. But it is still relying on observers, which I really don't like doing because observers are really glitchy. The other problem with this is it uses redstone on top of these blocks next to the pistons, which means that we could get zombie pigmen glitching out through the corners. So I need a better, more robust and more, just a better design. Well, this design doesn't exactly get me away from the observers, but it does allow us to actually bolster this thing up quite substantially, meaning that things shouldn't be able to escape from it. If you take away the observers, the problem is your pistons stay out for as long as your repeaters tick for, which makes it very difficult to come up with a compact design that doesn't make your system all weird. We don't want it to be like that. We need the pistons to be out, retract, and then go away again. And I think, realistically, something like this is going to be the simplest and easiest way to do that. And then we can just make sure that nothing's going to escape by just, clogging up each side with a good couple of layers with the blocks. And there we go, with a few finishing touches and some extra glass, we now have an incredibly noisy but fully functioning Trident killing design with easy access to the items that come out of that. There are glitch minecarts inside each of those Trident killers. We've got the system at the top that will split the pigment up into the 4 different directions, and each one of those Trident killers is all behaving exactly like it should do in a uniform and reasonable, normal way. So all I got to do now is build this on the Truly Bedrock server. Oh man. One final system before I go for this is a quick on-off system, which is basically just that. So we've got 4 redstone torches going up into each of the corners of these with a redstone line and some repeaters around so that we can turn the whole thing on and we can turn the whole thing off at once. Amazing. Back on the Truly Bedrock server, I need to do a whole lot of destroying before I can start creating, and I'm going to start by blocking off this water in here and completely rebuilding the entire thing. Jeez, it's going to take a while. It's going to take quite a while. Well, in what didn't feel like a particularly long time at all, I think I'm finished, although I haven't tested it yet. I'm going to pop a little bit more glass in here just to make sure there's a nice double layer between me and any of the pigmen, and all of the redstone is in place as well. So I can't see any reason why this wouldn't work. If I flick that lever on, hopefully we're going to see pistons firing. Hopefully there are none missing. That all looks good to me. They all look like they're going at a reasonable rate. And if I throw the tridents in, like so, then the trident should get moved around as normal. They are on that one, and that one, and that one. And not that one, because I've fallen down the hole, mate. And that one. Amazing. Right, so now all I got to do is turn the system on, and hopefully we're going to get some pigment in here. Now, there was another slight problem the last time we ran this, and that was that one of the water systems just kept spitting out water, and we didn't understand why. It wasn't working properly. So first of all, I need to check, have we actually got any flints and steels in this thing to run it? And if we have, does it actually work? Yeah, it's pretty much full of flints and steels on that side. Let's check this side. Same thing again. Yeah, so lots of flints and steels in this thing. Let's make sure it's actually going to work then. Yeah, those are working. Those are definitely working, but the pigmen are despawning because I'm too far away. Let's make sure the other side works as well. It looks like all four sides are firing as expected. The pigmen are going through the middle. Let's go and check what's going on in the Trident Killer. Make sure they are all actually dying. I hope they are, because if they aren't, I don't have a backup plan. Oh, and it looks like they are. This is good news. This is very good news. Well, I'm not going to lie. The frames per second is getting a little bit choppy while I'm hanging around here, but that's probably because, yeah, there we go. Look, I wasn't collecting the XP and I just got loads of it. And yeah, it's still a little bit choppy, but it's not too bad at all. It's definitely manageable. The pigmen are not backing up. It doesn't seem at this point like any have escaped, although sometimes it can take quite a long time for them to escape. But yeah, I think we've just about nailed this. And when I actually got here, I didn't realise that the last time someone had been here, it was probably Chuck, I think. There's actually already a whole bunch of gold over there ready to be collected and turned into gold blocks. So I guess while I'm hanging about over here, I might as well collect all of that, let this farm run while I'm doing it and see if we have any issues. And all of that collected is almost a full double chest of gold ingots, which is not actually that many gold blocks, but it's still plenty. That's plenty of gold blocks, and yes, my frame rates are still suffering because while I'm down here messing about with these gold blocks, I'm not up there collecting the ingots. Jeez, not the ingots, the XP. Let's pop our heads up. Let's take our armor off because it's not damaged. Let's head up with our hoe, and hopefully it should get instantly repairs. There we go. Look, it's not fully fixed. Yeah, I'm not getting quite all of the XP. But yeah, this thing's crazy. Now, if I hop my head up to the top again to just check on this thing, we want to make sure there aren't too many pigmen dancing around in the middle. There are quite a few. And because I threw the tridents, they absolutely don't like me. Not even a bit. Nope, they don't like me one bit. So yeah, they've got to be a little bit careful when we go around that area. And it is so herky-jerky since I got this thing running on, like this. Oh, we need a way to deal with the XP better. Oh, jeez. Maybe blue ice. When I did it in my test world with blue ice, the XP slid about a lot easier. And we used blue ice in the raid farm and it works great. So I think blue ice in here would be really, really useful. But can't really get blue ice at the moment in there because I'd have to redo all the hopper minecarts. So that'd be tearing it all out again. I don't really want to do that, mate. Oh, there we go. Look, if I go close like that and just grab all of the XP. Yes. Oh, many XP. Yeah, it is all sticking in there. That's a bit of a problem. And with a little bit of gold that came through at the end there, that's pretty much 3 stacks of gold blocks each for me and Slack. So I'm going to take those ones. I'll leave the rest there for Slack. And I am going to head back home knowing that I have done another good job, another good deed, fixing another farm. In the last video, we created another furnace array for our cheaty XP, and Invisible Chuck, who is my camera account, is in here, and he is watching this thing go. Basically, he's AFKing in the area, allowing many fish to smelt through these things so that we can gather lots and lots of XP in those furnaces, and due to a bug, it means we can get that XP out as many times as we want and just repair our stuff whenever we want to do it. However, We are now the only people on the server. There is only Chuck and myself on the server, and because we're running out of fish, now would be a really good time to get Chuck over to the fish farm so that he can AFK there instead and get us lots and lots of tasty fish. And there we go, Chuck is now in the little AFK spot below me. You can't see him because he is invisible, but he's there, and that means we, being the only people on the server right now, are getting all the fish and all the squids at our farm. So what's next on my to-do list? Well, as you can see, my number of rockets is very, very low, and the amount of gunpowder I have is ridiculously dismal. This is it. This is all the gunpowder I've got. I've actually been pinching rockets from our rocking shop, and after AFKing at Slack and my mob farm for, I don't know, like 2 full days straight with Chuck, we didn't even fill up 8 double chests worth of items. Now, I've already used quite a lot of gunpowder that we got from this to restock the rocket shop. We've got another shulker box here, which is Slack's. So I don't actually have any gunpowder, apart from what I've got here, or any way of getting any more other than AFK in here. Now, I don't know if it's a change in 1.16 or 1.16.2, or I don't know if it's the fact that zombies keep spawning somewhere and ending up under the ground that's stopping this thing, but Jessie B also said that her creeper-only farm, the rates are ridiculously slow since the update. So, I think we're going to have to do something about that and build our own creeper farm / mob farm. Since I started building over at my industrial area, I've been thinking it would be really nice to get a pretty large mob farm in this. This is actually 6 chunks by 6 chunks wide. If we were to build a platform that was at least 44 blocks away from any spawnable surfaces, i.e. upwards from there, and then above that we had a mob farm, we could actually get a pretty sizable normal mob farm and passive mob farm that would generate us a whole lot of drops, including gunpowder. Back over on a creative copy of our Season 1 world, this was the mob farm we used, and it was pretty good. It was very effective. It was just a crisscross of... got some issues with stone buttons since, we fiddled with the file a little bit, so ignore those. They're supposed to be on the sides of the blocks. But yeah, the idea is it's a crisscross grid. Mobs spawn on it, they fall down the holes because the buttons on the edges make them think they can walk on it, and they land down there on the magma blocks. If they don't die instantly, the magma blocks will kill them off, and the hopper minecarts underneath will collect it. Just like what we've got at Slack's base, but this one is substantially bigger. What we've got over here is a passive mob farm, which became nicknamed the Meat Waffle, and this was actually my own design, and it was designed around an AFK spot with the spawning radius as the same sort of thing, a grid of grass that mobs can spawn on, and a bit above as well to maximize the spawning spots. The passive mobs would spawn on there, they would fall down into the water below, and they would end up, well, originally we used to have a renamed villager, a Johnny villager, sorry, not villager, illager down here killing them, but then we just changed it to magma blocks because it was a little bit more effective. Johnny kept dying and falling through the ground. So I'm thinking, what about a hybrid? What if we had a meat waffle at the top? Because this will only work on one layer because mobs will only spawn on the surface. If you put a roof above this, or if you try to do this multi-layered, you would only get the animals or the passive animals spawning on the top. So what if we had a meat waffle at the top with the mob farm underneath? Then we're going to get a passive and hostile mob farm, and then we just need a sorting system underneath to sort out all of the drops. Coming over to my super chunk block world, we have something a little bit different to what you saw on Truly Bedrock Season 1. And if you don't know what this is actually one of my patron servers for my friend level patrons and above, and it's a modded world for Bedrock Edition that has all sorts of interesting features going on. Now, this actually has half a roof and half without, and the reason for that is that we didn't want the hostile mobs to not be able to spawn during the day, and we can't have a roof over the passive area, otherwise the passive mobs won't spawn at all. So this would have worked really nicely if it weren't for the fact that the biome that it covers is actually an ocean, so we don't actually get any passive mobs spawning. However, we do get squid spawning in the water. And this whole thing came down into a Trident killer here, which worked very well. And it gave us lots and lots of drops. And now we don't actually have a sorting system here, but you can see we've got lots of ink, got loads of gunpowder, we've got string, spider eyes, we get the witch drops, we've got all sorts of stuff going on here. And it was very, very successful. And I haven't played on here for a little while, but I am planning on coming back to it at some point. Now I'm on a creative copy of the Truly Bedrock Season 2 world, which was taken only a few minutes ago, well, an hour ago exactly, so it should look pretty familiar, and this block here is exactly 44 blocks away from the centre of our farm down there, so providing there's no spawnable blocks inside any of those things, although we know there are because there's grass and stuff inside there, that would technically be high enough up to stop anything spawning. However, this block here is also 44 blocks away from that one, so this is the highest we would be able to have our mob farm to, otherwise things beyond that are just going to despawn. Okay, so I am at y equals 150 and I am using some command blocks to figure out exactly what radius we can get mobs to spawn, and I'll go through the commands in a minute. I have used them before in our fortress farm video, so they should be relatively familiar to you if you've watched my channel before. Basically what I'm doing is actually drawing a line or a couple of lines away from me, which is the spawnable area for mobs at this level. If I was to bring this up, I can create full circles with this thing, but I'm only really interested in the diameter at this point, although I guess it would be useful to see where we can go higher up. The commands for this are on the screen. If you want to pause the video and check those out, you can. That one is for the block that is closest to me, which is the black stained glass, and this one is for the block that is furthest away, which is the white stained glass. So mobs will spawn within the distance between the black glass and the white glass. So where I'm flying around now is where mobs will spawn while I am at that point in the middle. So we could have our layers of our farm as big as this circle or this sphere that we're going around, but any bigger than that will be too big. So that will actually cover more, well, just about our exact farm down below, which is quite big. That'll be a pretty big farm if we were to build this entire thing. Well, I've got a few things to consider here. Realistically, I can get quite a lot of layers in, although these layers will actually be circular rather than full layers at the bottom to keep on the outside of the sphere. But if I did that, that's going to be a lot of building, and that would also mean I would have to rely on having a water trough system, which is actually going to slow down the rates, because if a mob spawned here, he's going to fall into water and then have to wait a very long time to slowly get pushed over to the middle to our Trident killer, unless we had various Trident killers around this thing that they were falling into, which is not impossible. We could have multiple killing chambers on this thing, but it's still going to be a long time for the mobs to fall into it. Alternatively, I could do the floor out of magma blocks and rails, and in that sense I would have to make sure there are at least, I think, 30 blocks between the magma blocks and the spawning platforms for things to end up dead when they fall, and that's only things that don't have feather falling boots on. The magma blocks would kill off anything else. Adding a few more circles into this thing, our magma blocks would have to go at this level if we're going to have the layers going all the way down to where we're AFK in order for things to die when they fall on it, which means the maximum width or length that we could have our magma blocks would be to around here, which means that our mob farm would have to stop at that point there, which means that these lower levels wouldn't be very big at all. We're talking 6, 7, 8 blocks along for mobs to spawn on. We'd have to get rid of all of this bit out of here so that they actually stood a chance of falling down there. And even then, we would actually have to either extend this out slightly so that things could fall on the outside of that, although they'll despawn there, so they wouldn't. So we'd actually have to bring that in a couple blocks more just to make sure that when things fell off, they were not falling off the edge or missing the magma blocks, which means we're going to have to lose even more of our levels. So, is there any point in having these levels here at this point? I really don't know. A couple more considerations to make here. This magma block circle is actually the maximum size area that we could have for our platform that the mobs die on. And it's big, it's very big, but the problem is it's going to be very difficult getting rails and stuff organized in a way that will collect from that in a reasonable way. And also, because it's covering so many chunks, we'd either have to have multiple rail systems all moving about so that they could collect the items fast enough, or it's just going to take forever for one minecart hopper to keep going up and down and stuff like that. So realistically, I think this is too big. What we should really be doing is just concentrating on the 4 chunks in the middle. So let's get rid of all of this from the outside, and let's just look at these 4 chunks in the middle, which are going to be much, much more manageable. And let's see what we can do in terms of that. Using just those 4 chunks in the middle as our collection system would mean that we are going to be limited in terms of our area to literally just the bits on the top of the circle. This level here would be usable, but we're only going to get 3 blocks out of that, so we might as well not bother, which means we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels out of this. Now, those 6 levels could then be 5, which are for hostiles, and the one at the top would be in grass for the passive mobs. That would work pretty well. Alternatively, what we could do for the passive mobs is actually run those on a ring on the outside. We could have a completely different layer out here for our meat waffle on the outside. So all of that area there on just one layer, we could put a roof over that bit there, so that's always dark. This bit wouldn't have a roof, and then we could have this bit dropping onto a water trough that was completely separate from this. So we would have a minecart hopper picking up our hostile mob drops, so that was nice and fast, and we would just be dropping our passive mobs into a water trough like we did on Truly Bedrock Season 1, and that way we're going to have a fully multi-purpose farm that will run day and night without having to have half of it under a roof and half not. It means we've got to have 2 collection systems, and 2 pretty giant ones at that, but I can't see any reason why that wouldn't work. Okay, so this is the final update on this creative world. We've been here way too long. This is what we're going to have. We're going to have our layers there, which are going to be for our hostile mobs with a roof above. They are going to be 2 by 2 chunks, so 4 chunks altogether with magma blocks. 10 layers below our AFK spot, which is high enough for witches to fall from here and die, which is my test. It still probably won't kill things with feather falling straight away, but witches, if I can push one off, should die instantly when they hit that magma block. There we go. And then our grass layer, or our meat waffle, is going to be at this layer here, which is the same height as our AFK platform, and the water trough is going to be this stone brick layer below. So you can see this is absolutely massive. So this water trough layer below is actually our full 6 by 6 chunk area, which is going to be a roof over that whole area below. Wow. What's happened there? Oh, I may have made a slight boo-boo with my commands, but yeah. So this whole area underneath is going to be dark. Well, that's fine. It's fine. It's not a problem. But that is an awful lot of stone or some kind of solid block to place. And then we've got to tear it down as well so it works with flowing water. Jeez, this is going to be a big, big job. Probably not one that we're going to get on straight away. Back to Truly Bedrock Season 2, the official actual world. And all the time I have been editing this video, I've been AFK here at the fish cooking machine thing, and Chuck has been AFK over at the fish farm. Now, this thing hasn't eaten that much fish in that time. I've actually edited the video pretty quickly, but Chuck has gathered a pretty big amount of fish already. Let's go check it out. And here we are at night time and in the rain as usual, and we have 1 full double chest and another double chest worth. And we got quite a lot of ink with that as well, which is great, and loads of bones. So, of course, I'm going to fill up the sugar boxes as much as I can, get them all over to the furnace place, and get us some more XP in those furnaces. Yes, mini. And now that those furnaces are fully topped up again, I can go back AFK here for a little while before I start recording the next video. As for how we're getting on, these chests are now almost 2 full chests full. I don't know how a piece of raw cod has got in there. I'm not too worried about that, but yeah, that is a lot of fish that's been smelted, so there will already be a ridiculous amount of XP stored in these things. I cannot wait for them to be finished. But unfortunately, we're going to have to, because that is the end of today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit unusual, mostly in creative worlds doing testing, but I do hope you've enjoyed that process. If you did, do please leave a comment, and also don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Hopefully, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!